Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I'm your host, Lynelle Ellis, and glad that you've tuned into the program today. I have a very exciting interview coming up. For those of you who are wondering what's going to happen with the church over the next generation, I have someone here to share with you. Lindsey Gispert is her name, and she's a student at Walla Walla University, and you are going to be very excited about her enthusiasm for God's kingdom and for doing something for Him, especially with media. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And also, we have some exciting updates to share with you during the station news segment, and that'll be at the end of the program. And we'll start now with our devotional thought. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you from a book called 40 Days with Jesus, Book 2. And this has been put out by the creators of the television series, The Chosen. And this particular thought is titled Love. And it goes a lot deeper than just a simple word that we often overuse or even sometimes misuse. So we're going to get into this biblical perspective on love. Let's start with this verse, Matthew 5:43, or verse says 43 to 48. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. You, therefore, must be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect. There, we said it. Loving everyone, including your enemy, is a really beautiful sounding idea. That is, until you have an enemy. Then it sounds nuts and downright impossible. To be perfect, like your Father in heaven, also really difficult. So why on earth did Jesus say that? And why did he waste his breath on such a lofty, unrealistic mandate like love your enemies? Well, first of all, we don't have to look very far to know what not loving your enemies looks like. Just turn on the news to see how political enemies behave. The horrible behavior and, quote, dialogue is everywhere you look on both sides of the aisle, which is no doubt one of the many reasons Jesus didn't bother with politics. He didn't take sides because he's on his own side. It's not just politics that puts humanity's broken brand of love on display. There are Twitter trolls, cyber bullies, and cancel culture warriors. There are feuds that land in divorce court, family court, probate court, civil court, and criminal court. Like the Hatfields and the McCoys without the hats. There are protest parades and boycotts, infighting and backstabbing, school shootings and prison sentences, class warfare and actual warfare. There's little compromise, no forgiveness, lots of paranoia, and far too much estrangement because we keep the powerful chip on our shoulder. We give the brush off and we get stuff stuck in our craw. And while it might feel good to lick our wounds and engage our bitterness, our way of loving and hating doesn't work. We're collectively miserable. We literally make ourselves sick with anger and hate, panic attacks, heart attacks, insomnia, ulcers, chronic pain in our backs and necks, where we carry all the stress of our unresolved feelings. Our brows spend a ton of time furrowed, and we gift ourselves permanent frown lines. And for what? Nothing good comes from hate. Whatever momentary self-satisfaction we experience when we entertain it leaves behind darkness and a hardness of heart, like cement that begins to cure while we're standing in it up to our knees. Considering our options, perhaps Jesus' command to love our enemies is as much for our own sake as theirs. because love moves us forward out of the pain, hurt, loss, or selfishness that got us stuck there in the first place. So, how do we love our enemies the way God loves his? One way, Jesus. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. It is, in fact, too lofty a virtue for us to love our enemies. Apart from Jesus, we're simply not capable of sustaining such grace-filled, self-effacing, self-denying behavior. Even if we choose kindness momentarily, eventually the moment ends, and we're left with the hate we began with. But God's resources are endless. He never runs out of patience and mercy, never tires of doing good, never ceases to pursue us, forgive us, and lead us to greener pastures. And here's the really cool part. When we agree Jesus died on the cross to forgive us from sin and rose again victorious over that sin and all its consequences, the Holy Spirit then indwells us, meaning God lives in us, changing us and loving others in his impossible and perfect way through us. In our own strength, we'll never love our enemies. But we're in the process of being made perfect because God is transforming us into the image of his Son, the one who's perfect already, the one whose love has no boundaries and no end, the one whose sacrifice on the cross made it possible for us to know him more and more, and the one we'll spend eternity with, our earthly sinfulness gone, surrounded by the people we helped love into heaven, maybe even our enemies. As we're thinking about these thoughts, and as we're spending some time in prayer with God, we might think about this prayer focus that's suggested here at the end of this reading. Pray that God will reveal any hate you've allowed to remain in your heart. Pray for the people who are hard for you to love. Ask God to make you more like Jesus, allowing you to love the unlovable for his sake and for his kingdom. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me now is Lindsey Gispert. Lindsey is a student at Walla Walla University and taking a major in film, TV, media. And you have an exciting life and a lot of cool projects you're working on. So I'm really glad you've agreed to talk with us a little bit.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I know that one of the things we want to talk about in our interview is some recent travel you did to the Society of Adventist Communicators. But before we get to that, I want our viewers to understand who you are and a little bit about you, the kind of things you're passionate about.
I'm really passionate about Christian media because it's just something I didn't get enough of as a kid. We had VeggieTales, but that was it. It was just VeggieTales. And I always knew we could do more, you know? Like, I loved Nickelodeon and cartoons. I loved television and movies with my family, but I never saw enough Christian in that, and my parents were always looking for more of that. So growing up, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to make fun stuff that we can all watch together as a family, because I love watching TV.
I know, and my first conversation with you was over 2 years ago. You were actually already talking about doing advanced studies, even like we had the Masters in Cinema, Religion, and Worldview, and you were looking at that, looking at coming to Walla Walla to do the film, TV major, and that was a big choice for you because you're not from Washington State or anywhere on the West Coast.
Not at all. I am from the East Coast, born and raised. So telling my parents I wanted to go all the way to Washington from Maryland, it was kind of a big deal, but they co-signed. They agreed with the plan.
They did, and you came, and you've been working on some cool stuff while you're here. One of them is a podcast that got some national exposure. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I started this podcast for an assignment, actually, and our professor really encouraged us to put it in the NPR Collegiate Podcast Challenge. So I did, and I was not expecting to place in the top 10 finalists, but that was super cool, and me and all my friends were gushing about that a lot this spring. It was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, NPR, huge honor. huge
Very,
honor to place in
very.
the top 10 there. And there are some news stories out about that here and there that hopefully people will see or have seen. We'll find out more about it. What was the name of the podcast?
It's called Mirror Talks.
Mirror Talks.
Yes.
Yep. So they can look it up.
I can.
Okay, and you are currently writing for a television show that's in production. So talk to us about that one.
Yes, so we're starting a new show called Generosity, which is a lot of fun to be a part of because I've never been a part of a docu-series, which is what I would label it as. But it's just kind of proving that generosity is a lifestyle. It's not about donating $100,000 one time. It's the small things that you do on your day-to-day. And so we're just following regular people and seeing how they do that. And it's been a lot of fun.
And I think we've got one episode's in post-production right now,
Yes.
and we're working on a second episode.
Yes, we are.
Yes, and when I say we, it's because I wear a couple of hats. You know, I do this stuff here at Blue Mountain Television, but I'm also director for the Center for Media Ministry, and this show is a collaboration between, here at Walla Walla University, the Center for Media Ministry and the Center for Humanitarian Engagement. And I've literally been waiting about 4 years for us to find some way that we could
All
bring those
collaborate,
two.
yes.
Yes, because it's so great to bring those two centers together in a common mission. So this show, Generosity, actually gets its name from one of the core themes here at Walla Walla University, and something that we're really passionate about at the university. And it's going to air on Blue Mountain Television. That's one of the primary outlets for the show.
Which is going to be so cool. I'm so excited to see that and tell my grandma, hey, guess what?
Yeah, for sure. She'll love it. So I think our viewers can really look forward to that one. As you said, it's a documentary style.
It is.
And not in a boring way. It really
Not
keeps
in a
moving,
boring way.
tells a
It's
lot
got
of
a
cool
lot of
stories.
energy.
And David Lopez, who is the director for the Center for Humanitarian Engagement, is the host.
Yes.
And he's an engaging character.
He is.
So,
He's very personable. He's very likable. Cracks a lot of jokes. Even when people are telling their deepest stories, he makes people feel safe and like they can smile and laugh. It's great.
so we're all looking forward to that, and really grateful that you've signed on to be a writer for the program
Yes.
and help it happen. Okay, and actually, even though you're the writer, I also see you out on the crew, on the other side of the camera. When
We all wear a lot of hats. It happens when you're a small family, but it's a good time. You get a lot of experience doing a lot of different things.
You really do.
Yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so your work. So you don't just leave this to projects you're working on for class, or slightly outside of class but in your field, but you try to bring this passion that you have for doing ministry for God's kingdom with media stuff into your work too. Where do you work?
Yes, so I work at Positive Life Radio, which is another media outlet. Look at that.
Yes.
I really do like every form of media, but it's a lot of fun. I'm a student DJ, so I'm on air twice a week, every other weekend, whatever the schedule may be. And it's nice just being able to talk and be myself, and other people are listening, which is odd, but it's very normal.
It's
Surprisingly,
radio.
it's radio. And so that's been a really fun. I started that my freshman year, and I've been doing it ever since, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
So those who are listening to Positive Life Radio, they can hear you. They can. And do you use your real name for on air, or do you have a different name?
I use my real name. I'm Lindsey all around.
Yeah. All right. So they can, when they hear Lindsey, they'll know it's you.
It's me.
And you also took this same talent and interest that you have to the opposite side of the country this past summer for an internship.
Yes, I did. I got a summer internship at another radio station, WGTS, in Maryland. And that was huge because it's a lot bigger and on grander scale because it's in the city. And so there's like all of these listeners that I got to meet all summer long, and it was so much fun. We went out every other weekend just giving out free ice cream and meeting people, handing out merch, having concerts. It was a blast.
Yes, and the manager there is really somebody who's familiar to this community, because Kevin Kruger, who's manager at WGTS, was manager at KGTS Positive Life Radio a number of years back.
So he's an alumni from Walla Walla University.
He is, indeed. So for those of us who live here and knew Kevin when he was here, great to know you going there and working with him for the summer. Yeah, great internship opportunity for sure.
So much fun.
So in the time that we have left, let's talk about this latest adventure. So you and 3 other students were able to go to the Society of Adventist Communicators. What is that?
It's all of the people within the Adventist community that work in communications, which is surprisingly a lot of people. I was not expecting it. I was like, wow, there's so many of us. And we all get together and just kind of talk about your experiences in the work field and career options that exist for college students like me who don't really know what we're going to do post-grad. So it was really helpful and enlightening just to see, oh, I could do this or this or this. And so many options exist.
A lot of networking opportunities.
Yes. A lot of networking, a lot of people just really excited to meet the next generation of communicators, which was really encouraging because it's like, wow, people want us there and want us in that field.
That's something that I always really like about it when I'm at that convention. Sorry. I always really appreciate that enthusiasm for who's coming up, who's going to be, working next in this field. And let's talk about some of the people you were able to network with.
Yeah, so I network with a lot of people from the Washington Conference, which is new for me because I'm, again, not from here. So I was like, wow, Washington and Oregon Conference, this is great. I could do an internship on this side of the country this summer. So that was really fun. Even hearing like what is Sam Nevis?
He is the Associate Director of Communication for the General Conference.
The Associate, okay. He was really great, and he took his time talking to all of the students, which we really appreciated, and helped us navigate our way through our interest of like, yeah, what would I want to get my master's in if I want to do something like this? And so he was just really generous with his time, and it was really nice.
He was. I had never met him before, and I've also found him incredible person, really great to meet and get to know. He's actually hoping to come here to Walla Walla at some point and kind of meet more people on campus, so that would be really great.
That would be really fun.
And we also had some help getting the students to this conference because it costs a lot of money to get the airfare and for the conference registration and the hotels and everything, especially when you go clear across the country, because this was in Washington, D.C. area.
It was, yeah. So we were really appreciative for Adventist Health and the North Pacific Union who helped to make it all happen so that we could go. And they took us out to dinner too to get to know us and talk about what they do and their mission. So that was nice as well.
It really was. So, Lindsey, what are some of your big takeaways from that conference?
Ooh, great question. My biggest takeaways is that, film is valid and it's needed by everyone. Everyone wants content. We're all constantly feeding into it, whether we're on our phones or our televisions. And so it's really important, the work that we do, which was really validating. And also, there is room for Christian media, and there's room for it to grow. And it's on a pretty good streak right now, I think. We're going in the right direction, and there's a great group of people head-starting it. And I'm excited to join that group.
Absolutely, and that reminds me that the other day I was in a classroom here on our campus and saw what was more exciting to me than anything I have ever seen since I've been teaching. And I can really say that without qualification. On the board, you and some of your classmates had just done some brainstorming, and it was all about how you could contribute to Christian media. What's going on with this group of students? So
we are talking about what we want our big film project of the year to be, to put our focus on. And we were like, what do we want to tell a story about? And we kind of talked about it, and we were talking about stories that we really like and whatnot. And we wrote just in big letters, we want to make Christian content, because that's just something we don't see enough of. And so that is our theme for the year. Whatever we do, we want to have some Christian values in it and be able to share it.
Very nice. Well, Lindsey, you're an inspiration to me. I'm so glad you got to go on this trip, and it's great to sit here and talk with you about some of the things that you're passionate about and what's on your heart. And I hope that all of you, as you're watching, are also saying, because I know a lot of viewers that watch Blue Mountain Television, sorry, we're kind of a little bit older, right? We just are. And so it's great for us to see somebody young coming along who's really excited about these things too.
We are.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Lindsey.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I'll be right back. Now it's time for Station News. And the biggest news on the minds of those of us who work for Blue Mountain Television and who volunteer at the ministry is the big weekend we have coming up, November 4 and 5. This is going to be our Happy, Healthy, and Saved weekend with Dee Casper, who's going to be here to share with us on Friday night and on Sabbath morning and also in the afternoon. And of course, our favorite musicians, the Rejoice Trio, who got their start at Blue Mountain Television and are now going to be reunited after more than a year of not playing together. So it's kind of a reunion concert for them. They'll be sharing music throughout the weekend and a special concert on Sabbath afternoon. So definitely go to our website and look look for more details about that event. It also includes a potluck that you can be a part of at the Wallula facility, which you will definitely want to see. And that's going to lead me into a few thoughts about the Wallula facility. You're going to want to see it on November 5 because it is being transformed. Lots of work has gone in the studio where we are. We've got studs up for the new rooms that have to be added on one end of the studio, and painting has been happening there. Huge thank you to the students from Walla Walla University who came on service day and did the work with the painting there. That's all getting finished up as well because they, of course, couldn't get it 100% done during the 3 hours they had to share with us. And we are preparing also some special videos, especially one video that we really want to share with our constituents at the constituency meeting, which is also coming up on November 6th. And we've been working on that video. And something cool about that was we were also able to call on Walla Walla University students there and give them the experience of some production. So we brought over students from the Essentials of Filmmaking class to help us make that promo. And that was a win-win because it was a great learning experience for them. And then they were also able to help us get some of the content that we need for this video that you'll be seeing on the special weekend or at the constituency meeting. Or if some of you may belong to the Adventist Retired Workers, and we'll also be guests at that meeting on November 6th. So lots of opportunities to see this collaboration in action. And that also leads me into November 6th. So 6, 7, and 8, very important as well because that's the time for our on-air fundraiser, our fall fundraiser for Blue Mountain Television, 7 to 10 p.m. each of those evenings. You'll be sure to want to tune in for a very exciting time as Dee Casper stays with us for that event, and others of us who are involved with the ministry will share some exciting things during that time. And of course, you'll be calling in to support the ministry. So just a huge time coming up for this ministry. Very, very important time from November 4 through November 8 as we have our in-person event and then our on-air event. And that's an important distinction. You'll want to come in person to the WAVA Auditorium on November 4 and 5 because this is not a broadcast event. It's an in-person event. And then the broadcast stuff will happen 6, 7, and 8. And please remember to keep tuning in for new episodes of Secret Life of the Desert. Every week on Sunday evenings, you're going to be seeing that new episode coming for you as we finish out this series. So we're very excited about that, very pleased with the work that was done by Daniel Biggs and Mike Denny to provide this great show with us. And I'm out of time, but I'll try to share some other updates about programming next time we meet together on the show. Again, I want to thank you for watching and thank you for the way that you contribute to and support this ministry and for your prayers. I'll see you later. Bye.